The information in this book is provided for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, financial, investment, or professional advice. Tax laws cited are subject to change. Consult a qualified professional for advice specific to your circumstances. Client outcomes described are individual results and are not guaranteed. All mentor and third-party references reflect publicly documented roles only. Inclusion does not imply endorsement. Numbered citations throughout link to the Notes and Sources section at the back. See Notes and Sources for full attribution on all quotes, statistics, and mentor references. A note on sources. Throughout this book, you will see small numbered citations in brackets like 1 or 12. Every numbered citation links to the Notes and Sources section of the back of the book. We believe you deserve receipts. Everything in this book has them. Forward. There is a particular silence that falls in a room when someone finally hears the truth about their own money. I have seen it in financial summits across this world. I have seen it in the eyes of entrepreneurs who sat across from me after learning that what stood between them and wealth was not talent, not effort, not God's favor, but information. Plain, specific, available information that nobody had chosen to put in front of them. Enika Gaines and Adrian Mays have been living that silence and filling it for their entire careers. Enika, the tax extraordinaire, has sat across from families for 30 years and translated a code that has never designed to be understood by the people it most affects. Adrian, the AI genius, has taken that same translation work and taught it to move at the speed of technology so that the information gap does not simply close for one family at a time, but for thousands. This book is the most important thing they have built. Not because it is the most technically sophisticated, not because it is the most polished, but because it is the most honest. The wealth gap is not a mystery. It is not fate. It is the direct result of a system that rewards those who understand its rules and quietly extracts from those who do not. The things they don't tell you names that system. It does not ask permission to name it. It does not soften the naming. And this is what separates it from every other financial book I have encountered in my career, it hands you the tools to work the system anyway. AI is not the future of financial education. It is the present. And the people who use it intentionally, specifically, and early will widen the distance between themselves and everyone who waits. Enika and Adrian are not waiting. They never have. This book is proof. Read every chapter. Do every AI tooltip. And when you get to the epilogue, understand that the pen being in your hand is not a metaphor, it is an instruction.
A note from the authors, how we found each other and why this book exists for you. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. Oprah Winfrey. This book is for you, not just for Detroit, though Detroit is where it was born, and Detroit's fingerprints are on every page. This book is for every family that was handed a form but never handed the instructions. For every first-generation wealth builder who figured things out the hard way because there was no other way. For every person who sat at a kitchen table staring at numbers that were never designed to make sense to them. For the 47-year-old woman who lost $19,000 because nobody explained the difference between one checkbox and another. For the family that lost their home in 2008, not because they were reckless, but because the system moved faster than anyone explained it to them. This book is about the person who should have been in that room. April 20th, 2007, 60 by Design of Detroit Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, 2 Detroit women assigned to the same pledge line. Enika Gaines became Federal Reserve number 32. Adrian Mays became Flash number 34. Federal Reserve and Flash, the money mind and the lightning spirit. They call each other double. From that assigned position in a pledge line came a foundation, a community, a movement, and this book. What you are holding are real lives, the bus ticket, the foreclosure, the GM internship, the phone call to Toronto, the $30,000 audit, day 681 of the billionaire journey, 28 months of sobriety, the AI summit that changed the trajectory, the warriors who kept us alive online, the podcast birthday that became a gift to 46 strangers, the app built before there was a plan, the client who came back saying she would never leave again. These are not illustrations. They are the content. The wealth gap is not a talent gap. It is an information gap. And information can be changed. You are holding the change. Adrian Mays and Enika Gaines.
How this book works. Your map before the journey. This book has a structure. Every chapter opens with a quote from a builder whose path echoes something true in these pages. Then Enika's voice, then Adrian's, then the place where both converge into action. At the end of each chapter, you will find two things. One, AI tooltip, a specific ready-to-use prompt you can type into ChatGPT or Claude today. And their signature product, the AI Legacy Blueprint Master Calculator, complete with real-life scenarios and 5 calculator suggestions. Use them. That's where this book becomes your personal financial GPS. Between Chapter 8 and Part 3, you will find a named standalone section, The Framework, 5 Principles That Last. These are not motivational statements. They are the philosophical architecture that every chapter in this book was built around. Read them as the bridge between the survival stories and the building tools. They are the spine of everything that follows. How to use the companion workbook, Legacy Wealth Journal. If the book was the blueprints, this is where you lay the foundation. The workbook is organized in 5 parts that mirror the journey of the book. It is designed to be lived in, not just read through.
Introduction. The things they don't tell you. Where the story begins and what it costs. You become what you believe, not what you think or what you want. Oprah Winfrey. Enika Gaines. The bus smelled like diesel and somebody else's dinner. She was 18 years old. 1 bag, torn armrest, a one-way ticket to Grambling State University that a friend's mother had bought her because nobody else was going to. One way, not round trip, because she was not going back the same. 5 cents, some change. That was everything. She held it in her fist the whole ride. She didn't know where her next dollar was coming from. She didn't know if there was a next dollar. What she knew was the feeling, that hollow, tight, don't breathe, wrong feeling of having nothing. And she promised herself, somewhere on that bus, that she would never feel it again. That promise shaped everything. Even now, decades later, you will find money tucked in purses, folded into books, quiet in drawers, not because she forgot it was there, because some part of her still needs to know it is there. That little girl on the bus never fully got off. But here is what she did with that feeling. She didn't run from numbers. She ran toward them. She learned how money moved, how it hid, how it grew, how it disappeared when nobody was watching. She built a business, stayed in that business for 30 years. She became the person people called when the IRS sent a letter, when the forms didn't make sense, when life got expensive and nobody could explain why. She became a tax extraordinaire, not because it was glamorous, but because she knew what it cost to not know. 30 years later, a woman sat across from her desk, 47 years old, had been filing her own taxes for 22 years, proud of it. She had been checking the box marked AA every single year when she should have been checking the box marked A. 1 letter, $19,000. She didn't owe it because she was careless. She owed it because nobody had ever sat down and explained the form to her. The system was not built to explain itself, and for 22 years, no one had been in that room with her. This book is for the person who should have been in that room, for both of them.
Adrian Mays. Work was in her DNA before she ever had a word for it, and faith was there even before that. At 9 years old, Adrian was baptized at Hartford Memorial Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan. She stood at the water and made a decision, not because someone made her, because she already knew, that knowing, that quiet, unshakable sense that she was covered, that she was guided, that her steps meant something, would carry her through every basement, every job application, every broken season that came later. God was her foundation. Everything else was built on top of it. Her mother, Nancy Mays, was both an educator and an entrepreneur at heart. By day, she and her best friend, Marcia Norton, taught school. By night, they built something of their own, a women's fashion company called Detroit Unique Connection, dedicated to beautifying women with products they made themselves. Two teachers, one dream, a business built after hours. And if that sounds familiar, a best friend duo building something together to help women win, it should. Adrienne learned it from watching her mother. Down in the basement, Adrienne and her sister Dana would stuff halos and magic scarves, getting everything ready for the next show or event. She didn't know she was learning business. She thought she was just helping her mom. There was structure of a different kind, too, from age 3 to 13. Adrienne attended Sherrill School of Dance and took piano lessons with Miss Pat Johnson. Discipline, rhythm, showing up. The building blocks were being laid long before anyone called it a foundation. And underneath it all, the dance, the music, the hustle, was a girl who already knew she belonged to something bigger than herself. By 15, it was time to make real money. She landed a receptionist job at L&D Mechanical, her mother's friend's company. In high school, she worked at Athlete's Foot in Northland Mall in Detroit, then Farmer Jack's grocery store right around the corner from the house. She was the treasurer of her senior class of 1997 at Detroit Renaissance High School because, of course, she was. Going into her senior year, she interned at General Motors through a program called Inroads and loved every minute of it. She also played basketball and volleyball and ran track and maintained magna cum laude grades. Brains and athlete, faith and fire, money in her pocket, and a job on the weekends. None of it was handed to her. She went and got every single piece of it and she never forgot who opened the doors. She remembers her father, Daryl Mays, rest in his honor, and his business partner, Will McGlory, who has also passed. They ran a company called Detail Inc. and would pay her to organize and type their files. She thought it was just a job. Now she understands it was a classroom. And she understands that even then she was being prepared for something she couldn't yet see. Then came the full ride, a basketball scholarship to Murray State University. While her classmates were figuring out how to afford textbooks, Adrienne was still working summers at GM. Money was coming from every direction, not because it fell from the sky, but because she had never once stopped reaching for it, and because she had never stopped trusting that it would come. Then something broke. Not all at once. Life doesn't usually work like that. It was more like a slow leak, the kind you don't notice until the floor is wet. The overwhelm crept in. The clarity clouded over. And somewhere in the noise of living, the thing she had always been so natural had started to feel complicated. But faith has a way of holding you up when the math stops adding up. That's when the real education began. Not the kind with classrooms and report cards, the kind you find on the other side of confusion, on your knees in the quiet, asking better questions. She started asking the ones school never thought to answer. Not how to earn money, they covered that fine, but how to keep it, how to grow it, how to protect it from a system that profits from your confusion. The difference between active income and passive income. Why one trades your hours for dollars and the others work while you sleep? Why real flexibility lives on the passive side of that line? Nobody taught that class. So guided by grace, hard-won wisdom, she built it herself.
Together, two girls from Detroit. One rode a bus to Grambling with 5 cents in her fist and a promise she made to herself somewhere between the diesel fumes and an empty stomach. The other was baptized at 9 years old, already knowing she was covered, already stuffing scarves in a basement